Hi, this is Emily Albee. This is my presentation for assignment 6. So the book that I chose was The Day the Crayons Quit by Drew DeWalt, and this is hypothetically for a second grade class, and then the specific modifications that I chose are for a second grader with dyslexia. The class that I chose is hypothetical because I don't actually teach second grade, but that's a realistic class that I may one day teach. So on each slide, I'll have the before and then the after of how I would modify it. So on this first one, you can see that I took away the full names and then I just said by Drew. And then modification number 1 would be adding a vocabulary box. So on this page, just at the top, putting in the modification box. That way the student doesn't get stuck on what the words mean. They have an easy, clear way to understand what the words mean without having to sit there and puzzle through that. Pre-teaching the vocabulary also helps struggling readers focus on comprehension instead of decoding the unfamiliar words. And then I've got my APA citation. Modification 2, more vocabulary, and then also underlining some of the main ideas so that the student can more easily see the main idea of the page. So I've got some vocabulary up at the top. The vocabulary box supports the student named Lily by defining words she may not recognize independently, allowing her to focus on understanding the story. And it can benefit the entire class because second grade students are continuing to build their academic vocabulary. So providing that vocabulary can help support all students as they read to be strategic and to strengthen their literacy development. Modification 3 is to add an illustration prompt. So just adding a question next to the picture. So how does the picture show that the purple crayon is upset, and having the student reflect on that. The modification helps Lily use the illustrations to better understand the story without relying only on the text. It encourages her to also look at the picture, and it can encourage the second grade class to use picture clues in addition to the words. Modification number 4 is to add a compare and contrast chart. I know it's a little bit hard to see on this one, so if I were going to do this in real life, it would look a little bit different. But the letter on this page talks about big things and small things, so to have the student go through and sort those out to check their comprehension, and it helps them to organize information from the story using words and pictures, and then that can help make the text easier to understand, and that supports meaningful engagement with the literature and provides developmentally appropriate instruction for young readers. Modification number 5 is to add a cause and effect box. So kind of give them the answer, the cause, and the effect, and let them reflect on that. And then that also gives them the opportunity to see if they agree with that and to see where the page is going. So the simple cause and effect relationship can make the text easier to understand, and it can support the entire second grade class by strengthening and encouraging students to explain why a character might feel a certain way. Modification number 6 is to read the page aloud for all students. Now, this is something that could be offered for all the pages, or it could be used almost like a check-in, so all the students get the opportunity to hear it read out loud and make sure that they're following along correctly and that the words are making sense as they're going. So providing that read-along support allows the students to access the text while reducing the difficulty of decoding unfamiliar words. And then, of course, having dyslexia, hearing the words while following along can help strengthen that connection between the spoken language and the print. Modification number 7 is to use a graphic organizer. So ask them a couple questions like who is writing, what is the blue crayon like doing, what's the problem, and then how does the crayon feel. Graphic organizer helps students identify the purpose of reading, and then that can also help them to focus on the important details within the text itself. Modification number 8 is an inference organizer. So just asking them something that they could infer just from the page without actually having the answer yet. So for this one, I said, what idea might Duncan have? Because it hasn't shared that yet. Modification number 9 is a sentence frame for writing a written response. So giving them a prompt like, I think Duncan's picture shows blank, and then letting them fill that out. And then the final page, no edits for that one. It's simple and it's just the end of a sentence. The rest of the book will remain the same, but vocabulary boxes could be added if needed to each page, and a read aloud option could also be presented for a student if they struggle with any of the other pages as they go. And then I've got my references, and that's it. Thank you.